Spanish poet Federico Garcia Lorca reading poetry before his execution, 1936. In New Jersey, male toplessness was banned until 1937 on the grounds that locals didn't want to see gorillas on the beaches. World Championship of Sitting on a Pole, Netherlands, 1971. Two brothers from West Virginia who fought on opposite sides of the American Civil War in 1910. Marine reservists practicing an amphibious landing in Coronado, and an unfazed man relaxing, 1978. A German soldier mocking a Jew, 1941. Photographers shoot an atomic explosion from News Knob Rock, Nevada test site, June 24, 1957. Russian soldiers without insignia with machine guns near the building of the Supreme Council of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea, March 1, 2014. Infant crawling races, a popular sporting event in New Jersey during the 1940s. The wives of astronauts involved in Apollo 8 hearing their husbands' voices while they were in orbit, 1968. Chief Ranger Sam Woodring stands next to a house made of deer antlers in Yellowstone National Park, USA, 1928. The execution of a thief in Persia, early 20th century. This is not a statue, but a person undergoing an elaborate execution. He was tied up, a wall was built around him from raw bricks, and the form was then filled with lime. 6 hours later, the unfortunate was still alive, and a shooting followed. According to the caption, the crime was the theft of 2 cucumbers. Flamingos wait out Hurricane Andrew in a Miami Zoo restroom, 1992. Where did the phrase, "no risk, no champagne," come from? In the past, wine had a tendency to explode in France. Going down to the cellar for a bottle of champagne was quite a risk. People would go in special protective suits to guard against flying shards. Sommeliers from that time often lacked fingers or an eye. Stalingrad, December 1942. Nuns keeping their eyes fixed on a fashionable woman, 1960s. A crowd of white, civilized Americans mocking 2 participants in the Black Civil Rights Movement, 1965. London after a bombing, 1940. The rabbit invasion in Australia. In 1859, Englishman Thomas Austin released 24 rabbits into the wild to add native touches to the Australian landscape. The Australian climate allowed the voracious animals to breed year-round. By 1926, Australia had an estimated 20 billion rabbits. Removing from friends in the 20th century. Many who fell out with friends or relatives would cut their faces out of photos. A men's beauty contest, USA, 1919. The first day of war. Soviet civilians in Moscow listened to the radio announcement that Germany has invaded the Soviet Union, 22 de June 1941. Workers constructing the 60-story Chase Manhattan Bank, 1955. In ancient times, Santa Claus would collect naughty children, throw them in his basket, and take them to the North Pole to serve him as slaves. This is where the legend of Santa's elves comes from. The first border post set up after the U.S. war with Mexico, 1848. Mexicans would often scratch insulting words on it about the occupiers, which led to this symbolic sign being surrounded by an iron fence. After losing 13,000 soldiers in the war with Mexico, the USA gained territory equal in size to all of Central and Western Europe. George Moore, the living skeleton, and Fred Howe, the fat man, intermedial actors and the world's funniest boxers. USA, 1897. The Loyalty Dance, a ritual dance symbolizing devotion to the country's leader, Mao Zedong, China, 1967. Even in the distant 19th century, cats were memes. In 1959, the Volkswagen Beetle came with an optional coffee maker, Germany. A woman with a portrait of her son meets the last train with former German prisoners from the USSR, Germany, 1955. USA, 1905, a competition of African Americans who headbutt barrels. Andre the Giant drank 156 varieties of beer in one sitting and is the current world record holder for this feat. When Americans discovered that Native American women considered it improper to have hair on any part of the body except the head, they reacted by calling the practice barbarism and ugliness. As punishment, a French woman who had a relationship with a German is shaved bald, 1945. The first football kit of FC Barcelona, 1899. Secret societies in Latin America, 1920. The first attempt by the first woman to officially participate in the Boston Marathon, 1967. Alphonse Allais, Battle of Blacks in the Cave, late at night, 1893. Man in a rooster costume, late 19th century. In the Kingdom of Tonga, it was traditional to cut off the hands of those who participated in the king's burial to preserve the sanctity of their touch. Today, the custom is more humane. The gravediggers are forbidden to use their hands for 100 days. Other people feed them. In 1931, Azuba Su was discovered in Marrakesh, living naked in a cave and eating raw meat. The yellow press dubbed him the last Neanderthal, but scientists later linked his condition to microcephaly. A rope bed in a drunk tank in Britain, early 20th century. Watching television in a movie theater in the city of Carpi, Italy, 1956. American soldiers leave their names on the walls of the bedroom where Adolf Hitler was born. Braunau, Austria, 1945. In 1991, Princess Diana made an important and bold gesture in the fight against prejudices surrounding the disease when she publicly shook the hand of a young man with AIDS, without gloves. Replica dog tags of every soldier who never made it back from Vietnam. A young bride heading to her wedding, China, 1912. I'm not a camel, I want beer. Protest against the ban on alcohol consumption while driving, 1920s. The baptism of the smallest member of the ultra-right Ku Klux Klan organization, USA, 1920. A mother shows a photograph of her son to a returning prisoner of war trying to find him, Austria, 1947. The widely known photograph that changed the perception of AIDS. A father comforts his son, David Kirby, on his deathbed in Ohio, 1990. American burlesque dancer Miss Sarita walks her snake, 1940s. An Inuit man warms his wife's feet, Greenland, 1880s. Army priest in a camouflage cassock, Vietnam, 1968. Drying polar bear skins, Northern Earth, 1930. In the winter of 1950, the Korean War reached a brutal peak. This photo shows thousands of refugees risking their lives to cross the shattered beams of the Taedong Bridge. In 1918, Frances Griffiths and her cousin photographed what they claimed were real fairies and became famous overnight. It wasn't until 1983 that it was revealed this was the world's very first major hoax. A temporary morgue at the Seguro Social Baseball Stadium in Mexico. One of the most destructive earthquakes in American history occurred in 1985, killing 10,000 people and injuring 30,000. Racial hatred. A hotel owner pours acid into a swimming pool where African Americans are swimming, 1964. A prisoner at the Dachau concentration camp during a medical experiment, 1943. A 23-year-old man who switched from the communists to the side of the South Vietnamese government was captured by the communists and spent a month in a concentration camp where he was deliberately starved. Canaan Banana, the first president of Zimbabwe, 1980. A horse in a tree after a storm in Louisville, Kentucky, 1937. The wedding of Freddie Mercury's parents, 1946. A police dog is not very happy with football players during a match in Cologne, Germany, 1959. Dr. Fukushi Masaichi is a pathologist who founded a unique collection of tattoos taken from the corpses of Yakuza gang members. Tokyo, 1987. African king riding on a subject holding an umbrella. German East Africa, 1913. 19th century American slave advertisement. For sale, a cargo of 94 excellent, healthy Negroes, 39 men, 15 boys, 24 women, and 16 girls. Just arrived on the Brigantine Dembia. Colleagues at the bedside of Catherine Wolfe Donahue, who was dying of a tumor and had lost all her teeth. USA, 1938. The girls were engaged in hand-painting glowing watch faces with radium-based paint. Factory management knew about the dangers of radium, but did not warn their workers. A Bear artilleryman fought in the Polish army in exile during World War II. He helped Polish gunners unload ammunition crates and even carried shells during battle. John Spears, leader of the Green Corn Rebellion. In 1917, he and 1,000 farmers planned a march on Washington to overthrow the government and end U.S. involvement in World War I. Volcanologists Maurice and Katia Kraft, who witnessed 150 eruptions and often risked their lives for science. In 1991, they and 39 others died during the collapse of a lava dome at Mount Unzen, Japan. A Uchlan, a member of the light cavalry of Kaiser's Germany at the dawn of the end of this branch of the army, 1914. A Zippo lighter belonging to an unknown American pilot. A Soviet lieutenant wipes his boots on a Nazi flag in Breslau, 1945. The defendant's dining table at the Nuremberg trials, Germany, 1945. In the past, smallpox marks on the face were considered an advantage when applying for a job. They indicated that the person had already recovered from the disease and would not infect their employer. An Egyptian column destroyed by Israeli aviation during the Six-Day War. At the end of the war, Israel gained control of territory 3.5 times larger than its pre-war area, 1967. A slave in restraints designed to prevent escape. The collar prevented the slave from squeezing through narrow openings, such as a window. May 7, 1954, the USA definitively rejected the USSR's entry into NATO. This decision clearly indicated the USA's hostile stance toward the Soviet Union. Stockbroker at the end of Black Monday, Toronto, 1987. A little girl sees her father, a German soldier returning home after World War II, for the first time. Monumental stone coins used by the people of Japan. They are still used as currency on the island of Palau. Dali paints his next masterpiece with a model, The Temptation of St. Anthony, 1946. Weighing the Soul, USA, 1907. American biologist and physician Duncan McDougall proved the existence of the soul by weighing a person before and after death. It turned out that the soul weighs 21 grams. John Kennedy just minutes before he was killed, 1963. One of the 1.5 million victims executed in Cambodia under the Khmer Rouge regime just for being well-educated, 1978. The crew of the Challenger space shuttle that perished in an explosion 73 seconds into flight. All crew members died, 1986. Lab technician in a plastic suit selecting a rat for experiments in an Indiana lab, USA, 1949. Robert Wadlow, the tallest man in the world at 8 feet 11 inches, is pictured here in a rare courtroom photo from 1939. Salvador Dalí, 1947. The Death Wall in Rajkot, India, 1970s. A demonstration of a new fireproof plastic by DuPont, 1966. Pacific Islanders examine a F-4U aircraft. Initially, the military was mistaken for gods, 1943. A competition for the most elegant cigarette smoking, Paris, 1935. Thousands of Union and Confederate Civil War veterans shake hands to honor the fallen and promote reconciliation between former enemies. USA, 1913. Teeth sharpening among Indonesian tribes, 1938. A 19th century gun for hunting waterfowl, capable of killing around 50 birds with one shot. Model K Heffernan demonstrates the safety of the insecticide DDT, New York, 1948. It is now banned due to its danger to living organisms. Photos of Judy Dull taken by serial killer Harvey Glattman, who enjoyed tying up his victims and then pretending to be a photographer. Whether this clip sparked joy, anger, or just a bit of annoyance, I want to hear your thoughts below. Stick around for part 2 coming soon. Please hit like and subscribe to support the channel. See you!